Hey, I'm Rusty.
And I'm Heather.
And we're the Bryants, and this is the Redeemed Marriage Podcast.
We are here to encourage healthy marriages, strengthen wounded marriages, and begin the process of restoration to broken marriages.
We aren't licensed counselors, but we are a redeemed couple that loves the Lord and wants to help you journey through this messy, challenging, and fun part of life called marriage. Welcome back to another episode of the Redeemed Marriage Podcast. This is Rusty and Heather. You know that because we did a little jingle on the intro that said our names, but I'm making sure because you might have hit that 30-second skip button. And if you hit the 30-second skip button, you might have missed what our names are. So, Rusty and Heather Bryant.
Do you ever just want to talk really fast so that the people who listen to it on 1.5 speed?
Because I listen to all of my podcasts that I listen to on 1.25.
Yeah.
Sometimes 1.5, sometimes 2.
No.
And if anybody's listening to this right now,
I can't listen to them like that.
Oh yeah, but I listen to so many. So anyway, speaking of listening to podcasts, if you have not listened yet, as soon as this episode is over, you go back and listen to last week's episode. Phenomenal.
Yeah.
Kylie White and John White were our special guests, and it will leave you with chills multiple times throughout the interview.
So good.
It is incredible. So please make sure you go back and listen to that. And I know that we have a lot of new listeners. We picked up from this last week. We get to see all of the stats and stuff, and our numbers were ridiculous this past week. And so I know there's a lot of new listeners. If you're new, we would love for you to take just a minute and give us an honest rating and review. That really helps us. It helps to get our podcast in front of more people, and we just want to help as many marriages as we can. So this has been a long and full week for us. This was our spring break. We got a chance to go and be with family for the entire week. It was great, and we spent some time, met our oldest son who is in college, so we got to meet up with him. They had the same spring break. So we're tired, but we're really glad to be here. And one of the things that just was really evident to us this week as we spent time with family, not in a bad way at all. It was just a reminder, and that's why this topic is
relationships are hard.
Yeah, it was really funny when we were trying to decide what we were going to talk about. I asked Heather, and I said, "Do you have a good topic for today?" And she said, "How about relationships are hard?" And I thought of that old, news music. Newsflash, breaking news, relationships are hard.
I don't think that surprises anybody.
Yeah, and I wonder if anybody's listening right now going, they're really doing an episode on relationships are hard.
We're going to have to title it something snazzy so that people will click on this. But it's true. And, Rusty just said that we were gone all week and we got to see lots of different people and lots of different families. And not only that, but we went to several really popular places with lots of people in them, like the MLS game and an NBA game and March Madness and the theme park. And, one of my favorite things to do is people watch. And you just watch people interact with each other and interact with their families and their spouses. And, lots of different dynamics go into families and relationships, but none of them are easy.
No, they're not easy, and I think that, when people get married, they go into marriage most of the time with unrealistic expectations. And at the beginning of marriage, you can probably be carried through with those unrealistic expectations for a lot of people.
Sure.
Because you have the proverbial honeymoon phase, and sometimes that lasts a long time, or I say a long time, I don't know, months maybe even years. But the honeymoon phase goes away at some point, and you start just the whole All right, well, this is annoying. I mean, and it doesn't ever stop.
Right.
And
it's always there.
It's always annoying. It was annoying yesterday, still annoying today. But there's just these things that just pop up along the way, and you just realize. And so much of it, I think, is just the unrealistic expectations. And we don't want to, for those people that are out there listening that are not married yet, we don't want to discourage you
Sure.
or say that marriage is not awesome, because it is, but it's also difficult. And so, as you're getting ready to get married, and for those of you who haven't been married very long, or even those that have been married long, let's affirm the fact that marriage is hard.
That's right.
And it's hard even if you don't throw hard things into it. Obviously, our story, we walked through infidelity. And so for those of you maybe listening for the first time, that's our story, and that's how we relate to our listeners, is to be able to share this story of hope. But even if we had not walked through that, just relationships are just hard.
Yeah.
And so I think that, we talked about unrealistic expectations, but just, I mean, when you just think about relationships being hard, what is it that just comes to your mind when you just think, well, this is why it's hard?
Yeah. Well, and I think that a lot we've tried to talk about on this podcast, communication. I mean, that's hard, because one person may communicate one way and another person another way. So definitely communication. I think that, you mentioned unmet expectations. I think that going in, we just have this idea of what marriage is going to look like, or how our spouse is going to treat us, or how our spouse is going to cater to our needs, or how important we'll be to our spouse. We kind of go in with those expectations and dreams. We did a whole episode a while back on marriage not being a fairy tale. And I know that's kind of a common saying, but it's what we're taught from itty bitty, through movies and Disney and all the things that we go through and or see. But that's not real life. That's not what marriage is. But what I love about it is if you can admit and see that marriage is hard and relationships are hard, then you have to work at it. And I think that is like half the battle, is just knowing that you're going to have to work hard in your marriage. I know we have people that are listening that are divorced or on their second marriage, or divorced and looking to be married again, or any of those things. And the truth is that people get divorced sometimes because it's too hard. And then they get into another relationship thinking it's going to be perfect. But guess what? You're still there. And it's still hard.
Yeah, you go with you.
You go with you. And we're our biggest problems most of the time. And so I think that's just a statement that I wish that people would be more open about. We talk a lot about social media and how we see other people's highlights, and we talk to our kids about that. And it's not uncommon to hear that in sermons, that social media is not a correct picture. Like, it's just people's highlight reels. And so we compare our real life, our every day, to other people's highlight reels, and we feel like, oh, well, ours is not good. But I think we definitely do that in marriage too. We look at other people and think, oh, their marriage is perfect, or their life is perfect, and that they don't have to work at it, and that's not true. Everybody has to work hard in their marriage. And so in talking to people this week, and just sitting down across a table with a cup of coffee with people that I adore, and and people that I look up to, and, you know, some family and some not. It just was a sweet reminder that relationships are hard, but they're worth fighting for.
Yeah, when as I'm hearing you talk and saying how hard relationships are, I think that there could be people out there going, gosh, that's so discouraging. Mm-hmm. And I don't think that it is discouraging, because I think that lots of people, most people, have this inner self that enjoys working hard at something, enjoys a challenge of something being hard and the rewards that come with it. Because, I think about, like, if you're sitting across from somebody that's interviewing you for a job and they say, hey, this isn't going to be easy. Mm-hmm. This is a hard job, but the rewards are great. The benefits are great. And what you're going to, like, that's something that stirs inside of you. You don't go, I'm not willing.
I'm out.
I'm not willing to work hard. I don't want anything that's hard.
Right.
I mean, there are people out there like that, but
Sure.
But for the most part, it stirs something inside of you that's like, okay,
let's go.
I mean, you say it's hard, that's fine, but what's good is going to outweigh how hard it is. Same with, like, sports. I mean, look, if you succeed in sports, it's because you worked hard. Mm-hmm. And there's nobody that accidentally gets to the Final Four of the NCAA tournament.
Right.
It happens because of hard work.
Right.
And if you don't sign up for the hard work, you don't sign up for the benefits either.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think that, if somebody just was to sit down and say, hey, before you get married, just realize it's really hard, but that's okay. Mm-hmm. Like, you work at it and you do the things to have a successful marriage, and it will be amazing. So if that's the case, just like with a job, if somebody sits down and says you need to do A, B, C, and D, and it's going to be hard to do those things, but if you do those things, you're going to be really successful. Mm-hmm. Same with, hey, when you're working towards this goal of winning this championship, you need to do this, A, B, C, and D. What are those things that we would say, do these things, and even though it's hard, you put these practices into place, and you're going to have a chance to be successful in your marriage. So what would you say? Do you want me to go first?
Yes, you go first.
I got it. I think that the reason why marriage is so difficult, the number one reason, is because we're all selfish. And
are you sure there's a 2, 3, and 4? Because that might just be one.
Well, I think even with, like, unmet expectations, it's because the expectations are usually selfish.
Sure.
And I know you can look at it and go, oh, it's not selfish. I want it to be this way for both of us. Mm-hmm. But we've talked about this before, but any argument that you have, if you have an argument, the argument, if you stop, it's because you're being selfish about something, more than likely.
Sure.
And so the number one thing is just selfishness. So how do you combat the fact that marriage is hard? Well, first, you become selfless.
Mm-hmm. Putting the other person first.
So becoming selfless is the first start. So you may be in a marriage that's really struggling right now. We know we have a lot of people that listen that are in that boat because they're attracted to our story. Mm-hmm. And if you want to start changing the dynamic of your marriage, no matter what your spouse is doing, we talk about this a lot, saving your marriage by yourself, the first thing you can do is become a selfless spouse. So
yeah, I agree with that. And that's one of my, that saving your marriage by yourself. We have a lot of listeners that there's only one person fighting for their marriage. Somebody else, this other spouse may be in a place of just kind of, giving up or not willing to put in the hard work. But there is, just keep hope. Keep fighting for your marriage and keep doing what God is calling you to do, and honor Him in your decisions, and not give up.
Mm-hmm. You didn't go with a number 2.
Oh, sorry. I was still on the selfish. You blew me away with that one. That was a good one.
You want me to go to number 2?
You got a 2?
I always, if you give me a topic, I've got 1, 2, 3,
and
maybe
see,
4,
I'm just all over the
and
place.
A poem.
And a joke. He's got jokes.
I got jokes too. So
okay, well go for 2.
Well, I mean, since the first one started with an S.
Oh gosh. Put that wait, what is it?
Ministerial
degree to work.
So the second one would be, let's make this easy for people to remember. The first one is selfless.
Okay.
The second one is sorry. So learn to say, I'm sorry. Like how many arguments and how much marriage being hard could be just almost eliminated just by saying, I'm sorry. And I thought about that a lot today because sometimes in marriage, one spouse says they're sorry all the time just to get out of arguments and just to shut people up. And I would challenge you to think like this. If your spouse is always saying sorry, I would challenge you to look at yourself and see if you are the one that's being selfish.
Say that again.
All right.
In a different way, please.
Did you not understand it?
I didn't understand it.
Okay. If your spouse
right.
is always saying, I'm sorry,
right.
then you need to look at yourself and consider if you're being too self-absorbed.
Yeah.
Because your spouse has gotten to a place where they think, I'm never going to win an argument with this person, and so I'm just going to say I'm sorry every time something happens so that we don't have to do this.
That's good.
And because that was us. And I started thinking about that today, and I don't say I'm sorry a whole lot anymore. I just don't ever make any mistakes. So, totally kidding. But I really, that was really bad. She was trying to do this in the mic, and she did not do it very good.
I'm not good at it. I need Kevin James.
Yeah. So, anyways, but I do believe that for the first 15 years of our marriage, I said I'm sorry. Exponentially more than you, and it was because I'm never gonna win, so I'm just saying I'm sorry to get out of this. But it's saying a lot to say that I really don't find myself saying that so much anymore, because I don't think that you expect me to apologize for every single thing that goes wrong in our marriage. So that's maturity.
Yeah.
You're just staring at me.
Man, you giving me some stuff to process. And I'm trying to think of the next S word.
Well, here's the thing. This was your topic, and I'm just sitting here boom.
No, you're crushing it, babe.
Well, along with being I'm sorry, this is the same point. You have to, in marriage, and we're saying that it's hard, so how do you combat that? Grace. So when someone apologizes, then the other one extends grace. Because there are, how many times in marriage do you need to say that you're sorry? A lot, probably. So when you say you're sorry, though, the other spouse needs to be in a place where they can accept that and extend grace.
Right.
Because we both need it.
Yep.
And so just as important as it is to say I'm sorry, it's just as important for the other party to be willing to extend grace.
Yeah, I like that. You ready for my S word?
Oh, my goodness. This is going to be good. This is on the fly, people. All right, what do we got?
No, it's really, I had to think of a word to fit, but
Please say what mine was going to be. If you do this, I might just drop the mic. Okay, go. Come on, I want to hear it.
Yours has to be sex.
Oh, it wasn't, but great.
That's not mine. That's
not yours?
No. I was just guessing yours.
No, it was not.
Okay.
But that is a good S word.
It is. It
All
is.
right,
okay,
no.
mine was support.
Okay.
What do you think?
I like that. I like that.
Because I was going to say, we need cheerleaders in our relationships. We do. We need people who love us, to love us well and encourage us. And I think this world beats us up. And life's hard. And so we need somebody that we can depend on to always be on our side. I love you and I am going to support you with everything I have. You know, when we were talking to John and Kylie last week, that was one of my favorite things that John said. They processed through what they were going through differently, what Kylie was going through differently. But he was just there to support her for whatever. It didn't matter how she chose to process it. He was there to support her. And that's what I love. Now, did she process it in a godly way? Unbelievably so. But he was there. And I just think whether we're going through hard times or not, that's real easy to say when your marriage is going through a hard time or when your wife has cancer like I did. You have to be there to support them. When a health issue like Kylie had, you're there to support them. But we need to support our spouses in our daily things. In just, you did a good job today. Like little things. And I know for you, and you know, there's some statistic out there about how many men, their basic need is for their wife to give words of affirmation. And yes, it's a love language, blah, blah, blah. But men in general need their wives to be affirming, to tell them they're doing a great job, being a dad, being a husband, being a soccer coach, whatever it is that they're venturing out to do, being the spiritual leader of the family. We need to encourage and support our spouses, and in relationships.
That was good. That's an S word.
It was.
Okay, so hang on, because I got a couple of more. Okay, but we're gonna let's recap real quick, because we came out of the chute saying relationships are really hard. All right, everybody knows that.
That's right.
Newsflash. Okay, newsflash. Relationships are hard. So if you get into your marriage and you're in your marriage and you're like, yeah, this is hard. All right, well, how do you combat that? Well, first, selfless.
Be selfless.
Be selfless.
Quit being selfish.
Quit being selfish. So selfless. Be selfless. Okay. Second one, say I'm sorry. Okay. Be willing to say I'm sorry and extend grace if you're the one that somebody is saying they're sorry to. Support. Those three, big three. I got another one. Really good. Another S word.
Okay.
Serve. Serve your spouse, and serve your spouse with no motivation for wanting something in return.
Sure.
Or that you're just, and this almost goes back to being unselfish. It's just your joy is to serve your spouse. And if you have that mindset in marriage, marriage is going to be hard. Newsflash. But these are the things that are going to combat that. And your marriage, I promise you, is going to be so much better when you serve. So, I mean, those are four great. I got one more. But if you got one, you're sitting there thinking, you're like, S word, S word, S word.
I just keep trying to figure out how you're going to work sex into this.
What? I mean, I'm not.
Okay.
I'm not. Okay. So the last one, though, that I would say, the way that you combat the relationship being hard is communication.
It's not an yes.
We could say speak.
Hey, I like it.
No, but it seriously boils down to how to communicate better. Because the majority of issues in marriage have to do with breakdowns in communication.
Yep.
And we have given some, I mean, you can go back and listen to the one that's called Heart Talk. And we did a whole episode on how to improve your communication through something that we learned at a marriage intensive called having a heart talk. We actually went to a marriage mentor training recently, and they gave a few other pretty good little ways to communicate, and we haven't shared those yet, but at some point we'll share.
And we need to, because that's one of our biggest topics that people want to talk about is communication.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
But I just think that recognizing the fact that that's a big, big issue in marriages, and that if you can start to work on that and improve your communication skills, whatever tricks you want to try to use or try to learn how to do, that will improve your marriage significantly. So,
and don't shut down.
Right.
And not talk.
So that was 5.
Dang.
Yeah. I mean, you started this and you were like, I don't really know where I'm going with this. And I mean, it was like
you came out with 5 S's.
It was like you threw that softball up and I smashed it.
You did.
So we got the 5 things that you can work on, like literally starting today. And so we want to encourage you. And if you're sitting there and you're just thinking about how hard your marriage is, we're with you. We know that it's hard, but the rewards and the benefits that go along with marriage, there's no comparison to anything in the world. And so whatever you're facing, we want you to know there's hope, and we want you to know that it's worth the fight and it's worth the battle.
And it takes a lot of practice. Nobody gets it right at the beginning. I mean, I think that's why you hear so many times of newlyweds that start off really strong, and then they get into a few years that are just really, really hard. And I think it's because it takes practice. But that goes back to what you were talking about the benefits. Like, you have to, once you start seeing those benefits, it encourages you to keep working hard and keep working hard. Right. And so if you're in a season where you're just like, I'm trying and I still fall and we still stumble and it's still hard, just keep working. Just keep practicing. Of course, we're right here in the middle of March Madness right now with all the basketball. But, I did play basketball in high school, and I had a dad that took me to the gym or in the backyard on our half court, and he would throw the ball over and over and over for me to shoot and shoot and shoot and shoot. And I'd stand on that free throw line and practice and practice and practice, so that when it was time, for me in a game situation, I knew what to do. I was like, I've done this a million times. And I think that we have to do that in marriage. We practice and we fail sometimes, and we try to give grace and say, I'm sorry. And then, sometimes, how many times have we had discussions where I have said in my heart before I go in, I'm going to say, I'm sorry. I'm going to tell him that I'm sorry. And then I come out still mad as anything, because we're not perfect. We're both sinners. You're a sinner, your spouse is a sinner, and you're trying to make a marriage work with 2 sinners. It's tough.
It is.
It's tough. And so just keep practicing.
Yep. I remember, and I'm going to close with this, but I remember at one of our counseling sessions, this was one of the ones that I went to by myself, and my counselor said, you don't need to take life so seriously. And I think that that's a big part of, we get in this rut in marriage of it's so hard, and we just want to fix our spouse, and we want them to quit doing this and doing this. And really, it just boils down to sometimes just going, you know what, we're just, like you said, I'm a sinner, you're a sinner, we're trying to do life together, and we're trying to be companions, and we're trying to do all those things that we said, support each other, serve each other, say I'm sorry when you have to, be unselfish, and communicate. Those are the things. And if you can get to a point in your marriage where you're just not taking life so seriously, then you can relax a little bit and just enjoy the journey. Yep. So, hey, thank you guys for listening. We love coming to you each week and just chatting with you. And so if you've got any questions or anything we can help you with this week, shoot us a private message or message us on our social media or through our website. You can find us there and send us a contact. If we haven't responded to you this last week, we were on vacation.
That's right.
And we will get to it. But thank you so much for listening, and we will see you guys next week.